Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi, Destiny 2 gameplay. Recently in Destiny 2, I've been playing with a couple other YouTubers, Sloth Moods and Ultimate Shield. I'm doing the campaign. Oh gosh, you're gonna hear us talking in here, which might be good. So Sloth and I were playing in Destiny 2, and he said, do you want to do anything? I said, hey, I do have to do my campaign still, so we did a campaign mission. Sorry for this blackness. It seems a lot longer than when I was previewing it. So one thing that we remarked, we were doing open world stuff, and in this area on Neptune, the city there, it is really hard. It's like a high level 1780 or something, just roaming around the city. So we were having a hard time doing the open world events. And so when we got into the campaign, it's a lot lower. And one of the things about a lot of campaign stuff and a lot of stories, sometimes I might not be interested in the story. I just want to get the campaign through, and I want to get kind of the end game kind of stuff and doing raids and those kind of things. You had that one video where you made a good point that I'm still having a problem with jumping puzzles. There's going to be more jumping puzzles in here. And I thought a lot about, why I don't like the jumping puzzles, because it's a forced mechanic. And I mentioned I like to solve things and I like puzzles. I'm not a puzzler. I'm not a word search person. I'm not a crossword person. I don't like those type of manufactured puzzles. They're okay for other people, just not for me. What I like is just having the normal course of things in front of me and figuring out a way to solve that or to way through that, whether it's my non-game life or my game life. Also today, Ultimate Shield released a video where he kind of gave his plans on what his channel is going to be, and I echo a lot of his sentiments, and I probably have told you guys that before. Some of you that liked me because I was doing, the Division 2 content, and maybe you're not as happy with me because I'm doing less Division 2 content. That land has been fully explored. You may like my voice in that area, but the demographically and the analytics for everything are that one of the things you see, this green stuff, part of the campaign is getting you to this new skill set, which is the green stuff. So you're going to eventually start picking up more green stuff. And this mission is basically you're going to stretch the limits of, you're going to start using the green stuff more. So you're going to see more of that power type than, my void power type. And so the Division 2, there's a lot of people that do a lot of videos. Just for example, just the nuts and bolts of it. Someone will do an update on the content, or, they might go on a test server, and because they're so established, they'll get 50,000 views right on that. And I don't get that amount of views. And the biggest video I ever did has it's ongoing, but it's got like maybe 11 or 12,000 views right now. And that's nothing for these big YouTubers. That's not even, that's probably in the first hour what they get. Probably even more than that. I'm not doing it necessarily just for the views and just to be popular. If I was going to do that, I would do build videos. That is what kind of sells. And the second thing I don't want to do is I don't want to get critical of people's builds, because it's a very unique thing. But I'm going to say this about builds and game styles in general. You may or may not like the meta. I'm not a big fan of the meta. When I first heard that term, I was talking to my kids about League of Legends, and they were like, well, the meta is this. And I was like, F that meta. Because I believe in life-stealing skills and faster attack rates, because if you can heal yourself while you're damaging someone else, in general, these games, I look at the game sometimes as a little math, as a math equation. So, and trying to explain to 10, 11, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old that's trying to break away and become a person in their own right, the last thing they want to hear is their parent telling them that, you know, the meta is stupid. And so the meta, though, is what's kind of popular and kind of what's successful. What's successful doesn't mean it's the best. So I recently did a video, and I mentioned in there that I used my maximum skill DPS. And Sloth, who I'm playing in this game, who I have a lot of respect, I did this, I published that video after this gameplay, so he's helped carrying me through here. Nothing wrong with being carried, I'll talk about that later. He's like, well, you can use that. The exotic's called the waveform. He said, you can use that if you want. And so I was like, man, I really like this person. I value their opinion, so let me deep dive into what he's saying. So I got probably the first video, and then I stopped. Division 2 video was some British guy, God bless him. And he said, well, basically waveform, it oscillates between your two skills. It builds up to 30 stacks, where you then get 30% damage, and then that decays, and that goes into the other skill you have. So there you go. And he is correct, British guy, is correct that mathematically it ends up being a 15% buff. And at one point he said, well, I would just add another Hannah piece to get an additional 10%. Sir, if you already don't have the following build, 1 Werven, 2 Hannahs, and 2 whatever those ones are, Empresses, you already don't have enough DPS, so you could have more skill DPS. And 10% is always less than 15%, so he'd rather have the 10% than the 15%. And it's how you look at things. If you look at waveform as a stacking build that builds stacks on one skill and builds stacks on other skills, I mean, we have a lot of things in Division that do that. And so then he, did the math, and he kept focusing on the math. And the problem is, when you have a high DPS build, you melt things. So that time that you have your maximum DPS going, you're going to probably melt something. You don't need it to be 30% all the time. Additionally, it's a very rudimentary way to look at it, because you're above 10% for how long? For 66% of the time, you're above 10%. So the best, when you're theory crafting, you're going to make the highest DPS build with all these machinations, and you're going to do all this stuff. And so that build I have puts out a dumper. There's Roxy. That build puts out a dump truck load of skill DPS. And it's peaky, but what are you trying? And now that, because they hear themselves on the video, they are barking. So the goal of high DPS builds are not, maybe sustained DPS is a different thing. So what I sympathize with the British guy is that people were giving him death threats or whatever they were saying about that he was stupid and all this other stuff. That's just, I haven't really had that. Everyone that's commented on my channels, even when they disagree with me, have been very polite, and I've tried to be polite back. They've been fantastic. Who cares, really, if waveform is good or not, that you would ream someone out for it? So, number one, or I guess I'm talking about, the channel and what kind of videos I'm going to do. I don't want to get in a video where I'm saying that this guy's completely wrong. He is wrong. It's not the highest DPS build. The highest DPS build would have waveform. The highest DPS build would have perfect shock and awe. But if you're in the legendary, this is what I did. So I took what Sloth said and I just re-looked at everything. And there's another gentleman that does videos. His name is Ultimate Shield. He does videos and he has a lot of stuff. And one of the things that he can do better than me is he can do all these things to proc stuff and do all that other stuff. I changed my high DPS build because of the following. This is everything I have to do to get the maximum DPS. And it's not always guaranteed, but 66% of the time it's guaranteed. And in reality, that 66% of the time is really all the time, because if you have two skills, you're getting that higher DPS, 20% DPS, let's say, majority of the time. I'm not going to do the math, but if you start thinking about it, it's better than just a 15% because you're not doing that. It's not just one skill, it's two skills. Anyways, in Legendary, you got to be in cover for the most part. When I tell you on one of my builds, the great thing about my build, it's fire and forget. Like if I can pulse through a wall and I can't get hit and I can damage the enemy, that's super powerful. If I can run and damage people and not look at what I'm doing, that's super powerful. If I don't have to proc something, that's super powerful. So while waveform and perfect shock and all may be great, in reality, right, in a legendary, it's not the best build. Because you have to do all these things. You got to get out of cover. I got to cause a status effect to proc perfect shock and awe. Then I got to, and I do that with a Scorpio, then I got to switch my weapon to test subject and then fire and hit him, and I get this other 20%. So now I got 40%. And then waveform is doing its business during that time, right? So I may get, 66% of the time I'm going to get an additional 20 plus, damage from one of my skills. That's a lot to manage in a legendary when you have to look at doing some other things. So this is what I appreciate about people that comment. Sloth said, hey, it's not for me. I didn't ask him what does he mean. I just went online. I could see what people are saying about waveform. I made a change because it's consistent with what I'm trying to tell you on how to do legendaries. I'm going to tell you this. If you're doing heroic content, God bless you. That's great. You're doing it. You can run anything in the division. Again, the builds don't matter. Because you can do so much damage. Now, if you just go into the, the shooting range downstairs in the division, you can see, you got to really pump it up to not kill the fake, these jumping puzzles, by the way, in the video. I mean, I barely got over there. And we're not to the part where when Sloth has to start carrying me, I will focus on the video. So long story short, if you're not, in legendary, doesn't matter. You do whatever you want, what makes you happy, whatever build, the waveform, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, because you're going to put out so much damage. And now when I look at legendary, I look at it like PvP. Some people don't want a PvP. I don't want a PvP, but I want a legendary. Some people don't want to do legendary for a lot of different reasons. And so I guess then my content is for a very niche set of people that want to do legendaries, because if I was just telling you what to do in heroic or lower, everything you do would be fine. And so that's why I don't focus a lot on the builds, because I wanted to ask myself that. That was one of the first things, not one of the first videos, but one of the first ideas was to run a heroic control point with purples versus yellows. And you can find that on my channel.
All right.
Oh, Sloth, I'm sorry you had to carry me through all this stuff. So I realize some of you that are, you're in the middle, and that's okay, middle of the road. When I'm playing Destiny right now, and so this is what I equate to. This is a newer game for me. I'm not even thinking about legendaries right now. I can barely look up. I'm running around with this ball. I don't know what to do with the ball. I can barely figure out what I'm doing. So I understand that. So that's why some of the content I make is more about talking to you versus showing you a build, because it's it is what it is. And if I'm against the meta constantly, I'm just going to make builds that most people aren't going to do. So like my red build is a build with like Alps, RK, all the things that have inherent repair in them. So I have a red build that's mainly all reds that I do a lot of damage, but then I also have healing. So I'm always healing. And when I'm in a group, blah, 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 and I have improvised pieces. So I have and I'm running survival. So I have 80% damage reduction to yellow. So it's like a really stout build that does DPS. Oh gosh, here it is. Okay. So forget about Division 2. Let's focus on Destiny. I see that that's up there, right? I see that, but I don't see that, because I'm going to tell you Destiny 2 is a more three-dimensional game than the Division. And Sloth gets up there right away. Now, he's already done it. He would say that he's already done it, and he wouldn't take credit. He's a very modest person, but he knew what to do. He's already done this. I think I've told you before, I'm content just grinding out, just continually over and over and doing that. But he's slowly coaching me through here. He'll tell me subtly, he'll say, hey, you should do this and you should think about this. Very nice person to game with. Not very helpful, not telling you what to do, just coaxing you, do what you want, or you could do it this way. And that's fantastic. So being carried or being shepherded or whatever it is in the game you're playing isn't bad. Everyone needs some help. I appreciate him helping me. And really, it's just carrying me because I don't know what I'm doing. For example, we got to kill these lieutenants and they drop an orb that then can bust the big boss's shield. And you can see, I'm great, you're using Sword Ronin, but it's not doing anything. So, what do you do when you're getting carried? So you're appreciative of someone helping you. And Sloth has been really great as far as in the Division and Destiny 2. We can't play together. This is crossplay. This is another thing that, again, I would tell you, if you're on my channel and we'd like to play, I can play in Destiny, or we can find some other games that we can crossplay in. I have a pretty good video coming out of the Steam Deck, and I play a bunch of games in there. They're a little bit older games, but sometimes the games that are older that are kind of like this are free to play now, so you can make a character, and then the Steam Deck's a good thing to do that. But Destiny's a good game, and so why do I mention all the Steam Deck? Because some people play on Xbox, some people play on PlayStation, some people play on PC. It's nice that you can all get together. And one complaint I have about the Division, if I'm going to compare Division versus Destiny, is just the mechanics of you don't ever get disconnected like you do in the Division. When I went back over to Division, I kept getting disconnected. People get disconnected all the time. It's at this point in the game, it's maddening. But these games both share the same thing. After you get done with the campaign, then what are you going to do? You're going to have your weeklies you do, and you're going to go to the point where you're going to raid. You're going to go to what content you're going to do. What's the next content you're going to do. So part of the inherent grind built into Destiny is you go to the soft cap, and then you have to do some different activities to slowly grind up to the hard cap. And that's all okay. But then, like with the division, what are you going to do there? And what I told you is I like solving puzzles. So in Destiny, right now, so you can see I switch back to my void skills. They're like, oh, you use that and it made you sick. You can't handle the power, but your buddy is telling you to handle the power more, so you're going to get more of this power. And we're going to fight a boss again. Again, thanks to Sloth for carrying me through here. So the next thing is I'm going to experiment with, resilience is an easy answer, but do I need mobility? For a warlock, you're supposed to have recovery, so I'm practicing on that now, and I'm seeing what will be the difference. And they have a lot of interesting mods. Change the kind of gear that drops and what have you. And so there's not really a system, in the Division 2, they have optimization. So Sloth and I were talking about, you get a piece of armor, but it's not anywhere near the best it could be. There's ways to get it at a higher level, you get more energy, but there's not really a way that I can figure out how to get it up higher, like, get your all stats, all to 99, let's say. At this point, this is usually where I ask you to subscribe, like, comment. Appreciate everyone that comments. If you can share, that'd be appreciative also. If you really don't like some content, please let me know. If you want me to try to do things. So Just a Gamer wanted me to run in red. I ran in all red yesterday, and then we wiped immediately, and I had to go to a different build because I was with low-level people, and I had to carry them all the way through, basically. So I'd like to do that. There was a commenter, I don't know his name right now, but he played down the right side. I did one video, it was awesome, where I went down the right side, and I was using OBS, and it's kind of messed up. So I tried to recreate it. So you might see a video that's less than perfect, but it has the gameplay from the right, and it was significantly, we went through the content like I've never gone through it. So I don't know if we had a super high group or whatever. Lastly, I just want to touch on one other thing. If you have a clan or a group of people and you are doing this legendary content in the Division 2, you're probably going to do great because your clan and guildmates are going to be a higher level, and you're going to be able to do it if you're all like 2,000, 3,000. It's going to seem easy. You're going to say, Ronan, I don't understand. We don't have that problem. I'm mainly doing pickup groups, and so my teams are what I get. And sometimes they're great, sometimes they're just average. Sometimes they're new people that don't know how to play the game, and the lessons from the first stage don't carry through anywhere. So that's kind of the perspective. I never did any of the structure stuff in Destiny, but when I was with Sloth, I felt good doing it because he would explain what was going on. The mechanics were, to me, wild as shit. And I had no idea, but he helped do it. So I would do it now because I kind of understand it. And here's a great thing. When I did the first thing, I did pretty good in it. And then once I knew what to do, I did even worse. So that's a puzzle I need to solve. That's Caesar yawning. So I'm grinding my way through Destiny, and you're going to see that Sloth is down there killing everything, and I'm up here sniping. And I appreciate, anytime someone carries me, I appreciate it. Because a lot of times when I'm new at stuff, I don't know what I'm doing. But I do think about it after. So I got a couple more videos, but I'm probably going to try to come out with a pretty detailed Steam Deck. I've had it a while. I think it's worthwhile for you to get, but I'll save that for the video. Spoiler alert, the boss is going to die. So now they stripped the power. Yep. And they ran out. This is the part I like about Destiny. So the story mode kind of kicks in. Again, thanks everyone. Ronan Kazi signing off.